Joined by my amazing co-host today, Lukey Millwood. Put your hand up, my man. Give me a high five. And the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, David Simpson. How are you, mate?
Good. It's good to be here. I just had a full week off for the Easter holidays, and to be fair, I really did miss coming into the office and seeing everybody.
Everyone says that. Even Angie, when she went away for a week, she's like, "Oh man, it's so good to come back in the office." Yeah. We, for those that are interested about what I did on Easter, I did a whole lot of fuck all, but we went to a couple of different barbecues. One of them was at your place, Luke, early on a Sunday morning watching the UFC. For those that don't know, my main man here is a mad UFC fan. Is there often a weekend that goes by where you don't watch the UFC in some capacity?
Every single opportunity that I get, I watch the UFC, mate. I love watching guys punch each other in the eyebrows.
Well, from what I've seen in the UFC, it's not just the eyebrows, let me tell you.
Yeah, they don't hold back, do they? They go for everything.
They don't, mate. I'll have to say, though, Dave, when you came back, mate, you were looking very, very refreshed. You looked like you had an excellent break.
I did, yeah. We actually had some friends staying from New Zealand. They were visiting. They've been to a few other places previously, but they hadn't been to the Gold Coast before. So Kira and I had the pleasure and the opportunity to show them around and show them all our favourite places here on the Gold Coast.
I saw you went to the Currumbin Sanctuary, mate.
Yeah.
Had a couple of koalas and a couple of little wallabies and stuff. That was nice.
Yeah, it's always good to see the local wildlife. They had the bird feeding there as well, so you hold your little tray of like honey milk out, and you get thousands of the parrots swarming and carrying on. Almost as many kids running around.
I've been using it for years. Honey milk trick. Happy days.
Yeah. What is it? You catch more flies with honey than something else. I can't remember.
Vinegar. Something like that.
Yeah. I'm great with sayings. I remember all of them.
It's absolutely true. Ladies and gents, welcome to another live Q&A. Hey, we're here for you. There's no agenda. Certainly myself, Luke and Dave will give you guys an insight about what happens in Axon from a fly on the wall perspective. So if you're sort of interested about what happens behind the scenes, you're in the right place. I see we've got the two Tillars with us tonight, Luke. Rog and Trish.
Great. Hello, Trish. G'day, Rog. Great to see you here.
Great to see you both. Benny Hinton's in the house. Francine from the Gold Coast is in the house. And Shania's there as well. Shania, let me just say, the communication and the type and the frequency and the skill you have with communicating with clients with the numerous amounts of land settlement that has already occurred 2 days after back from Easter. And then we've got a few more happening tomorrow. You've just been on fire, mate. So, it's been fantastic. Let me just sort of say thank you and well done, Shania, in a public forum. I'll tell you what. So, ladies and gents, this is live Q&A. Use the chat box. Go ahead. Hit us with any questions you want. I mean, any questions you want. As Mickey Galliner jumps in right now, as he's been a bit of a regular listener, we do not hold back on anything. So don't be scared about writing a question in, but careful what you wish for, because we'll give you a very blunt and very, very honest and very caring answer, let me tell you. Simo, let's start us off. How are you going? I know you've only a couple of days back from Easter, but I guess my summary would be clients have put an EOI in 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months ago, are all now having the land come to market. It's now registered with the council and they're now settling on the blocks of land. How do you feel, mate? Because all those clients are in your lane. They're not they're all my clients, but they're not your clients. Between yourself, Damo, and James, with Shania's amazing assistance, you're facilitating all that. But how does it make you feel, mate, that you've got all those clients that have been in your lane for the better part of a year? First and foremost, they're not going to be in your lane for much longer. But most importantly, they're all about to settle on a block of dirt, including 7 or 8 that already have.
Yeah, exactly. We've had 9 over the last 2 days and 3 more tomorrow between the 3 property specialists. It's what we're here for. It's bloody fantastic, and I'm glad that my leave period finished and I came back just in time to witness all of that as well. And I get to send the email that congratulates everybody, all of my clients anyway, once they do settle on their land, and it's a huge privilege, and it's why we do it. And like, I get really excited when I'm presenting a property to a client. That's at the very start, like you said. For these guys that are coming through now, they've been in the game for 12 months or so while they're waiting for their land to register, which was a bit of a hangover from the COVID timeframes where we had those extremely long periods before the land was registering. And like a lot of them forget about it. We do our monthly touch points through Shania there for savings updates and land registration updates. And sometimes there's delays and the like as well. But it's just the old normal military hurry up and wait sort of scenario. But once we do finally get here, it's fantastic. It's a great feeling.
I don't know whether you saw it or not, but Trisha's put that exactly in the chat, just sitting here doing a hurry and wait.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You know, Luke, including, mate, there's a couple of clients of yours that you started coaching. So when did you pick up the reins of coaching? Let's call it November. Yep, November
last year. So
you're like, fuck these training wheels off RT. I got this. Let's rock and roll. Careful with your shoulder there, DVA. But, mate, I know you're really, really chuffed and proud and honoured and just putting words in your mouth here, but I know you very, very well. Just sort of describe the feeling that you've got for clients that you met that you had no connection with, that you build a connection with your Axon shirt on, and now they're, you know, getting to the point where they're about to start the build soon. How does it really make you feel, mate?
Like, I really get that sense of joy that comes with going through the process. I put myself in the client's shoes, as I always do through the entire journey. You know, when we ride those bumps with the clients, we ride them together.
Yes.
You know, whilst it's not our asset, you know, it's our ass, you know, riding the lightning with them. And that also comes with riding the lightning with the good times as well. And so, you know, when we get to one of those critical moments in the plan and those critical points where we're executing against, I can, I usually have a catch up with my clients, and I can tell that they absolutely have that you know, sense of excitement that things are moving. We're on. You know, there's those key points like signing the contracts where you get a bit excited around that point in time, and then you wait a little bit, and then we get to land registration, land settlement, and you get a bit excited because you're about to blow your own block of dirt. Then you start working towards the slab going down, and that's that real sense of, holy shit, this is happening. I'm about to own a house. So I really love it, mate. I love getting to those high points with the clients and riding through
something tangible occurring, because it's all just a paper activity up until the slab goes down.
Yeah,
there's nothing really.
It is. I mean, there's a level of excitement that does come with signing a contract. You know, like I remember, it's your commitment, right? You don't just have your plan on a page that you come away with us. You're actually starting to take action. But once that physical, you know, they really start to scrape dirt, that's when the rubber hits the road.
Let me have a look at yours. You're in the build now of your next property, and you've got your start of construction letter. I think your slab's going down in the next 2 weeks. So, like, you're literally living and breathing this again for number 4 coming through, which is bloody amazing, mate.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's, you know, like I can see what is possible, what's in the realm of possible if somebody has a plan in place, they have a strategy, and they have clarity over, you know, what it is they want to achieve. I can see what's in the realms of possible, and it's such a fucking privilege to be able to take people on that journey and then you know, enjoy those moments with them. It's a huge commitment, and that's why it's even more imperative to have a team on your side taking you through it. So absolutely nothing gets missed through the entire process.
Yeah, and certainly, Dave, as you brought up before, Shania's little touch points of once a month. Hey, how you going? How's your savings going? You know, has anything changed? Has been really, really phenomenal. I remember a few weeks ago, Luke, you and I were on here were talking, and we were both eliciting our frustrations, I guess, of a couple of clients had gone off on a tangent and significantly changed their circumstances, got pregnant. We can't do anything about that, right? That's got nothing to do with finances. You know, went and got a hire purchase car, started a business, sold all their crypto, or made a significant change to their circumstance and didn't come back to us to say, hey, what does this mean for an EOI I put in 8, 9, 10 months ago? And by the way, Dave, on average, would you say those 11 or 12 settlements that are occurring this week, on average, would you estimate they're probably some more, some less? That's all I'm specifying. On average, about 50 grand up from the time they did the EOI to what the property's worth now. On average, would you say that's a fair estimate?
Yeah, very, pretty much on the low end, I would say.
Okay, even more.
Noting the location they're in as well. So I'm likely to say actually a bit more than that.
Sure. Mickey Galliner, I can see it there. All worth it, and can't wait to start on IP number 2. Brother, as soon as this first one's done of yours, which is really soon, we'll obviously get together and you know, I'll put a plan together for Hannah and yourself, and we'll absolutely map out what IP number 2 looks like. But Luke, in contrary to that, one of the things I wasn't being rude. I was flicking back through my notes from our weekly meeting last Friday. One of the things I've been most proud of, and maybe someone watched one of these lives a couple of weeks ago, we've had 3 or 4 clients that have reached out to us and said, hey, this has come up, or I'm thinking about doing this, Axon. What should I do? You know, how does that make you feel, mate, when someone reaches out to you and they want to get our opinion on things? They don't ask about, can we start a family? Of course, not that they need our permission for that. But I guess I've seen a bit of a pattern whereby a few people have walked away from tens of thousands of dollars, but a few more people have since reached out to us that have solidified the gains that they've made.
Yeah, and that that really hones in that point that I was making before about having a team on your side. It's not just a team executing the existing plan. It's about making sure that what we want to achieve is still achievable without making those large muscle movements. Because like I said, with riding the bumps, it fucking breaks our heart when we sit there and we have a client that's gone through the hard yards and saved their first deposit and cost. As we all know, that is the hardest one to be able to get over the line, is that first deposit and cost. They've put themselves in a position whereby when we sat down and did the plan, there was validity behind it. We had a strategy, and then, and executing against that. And they've made those large decisions without sort of, without consultation about what the ramifications might be. Remember, it's your journey, ladies and gents, that you're going on. You've just got us in the back of the bus talking to you about what the ramifications are likely to be if you do choose to make that selection. Like, is it a fucking car that you want, or do you want to start your property portfolio? Now, it's always not, it's not that clear cut, and it's not that, that wet and dry.
Sometimes
sometimes it is. You're right. Sometimes it is, mate. But it's about understanding the ramifications and going through it. So it really spins my wheels when when clients come back and they are thinking about making a decision. They're thinking about making an acquisition. They're thinking about buying a dog, and they come back to us and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this." And yeah, look, Franny's just thrown up in the chat for everyone that doesn't know it there, ladies and gents. We got a new mouth to feed in the house. Thankfully, it doesn't come up on our borrowing capacity because it's a dog.
Yes.
But yeah, it's great to see when clients, bounce back to us and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about this. How is this going to impact my plan, my strategy?"
So critical, so good. What else, Dave? What else are you seeing in your lane, mate? What are some of the trends that you've observed, even in the sort of first 3 or 4 months of this year?
Yeah, even I just wanted to actually expand on what Luke was just saying there
Please.
as well, because I just had this situation today where same sort of scenario. We've secured the expression of interest and secured the land in the house 6, 9, 12 months ago, and through no fault of the clients, through no fault of the client, just by virtue of all of the interest rate increases that we've experienced over the last 11 months. We had 10 in 10, and thankfully last month they pumped the brakes and we didn't get one. So we'll see how we go in the next few months. I don't think they will keep going up just at the moment.
No.
We might see a bit of a pause, but just by virtue of that, and the single income people are the worst hit. So I've just had one where, like I said, through no fault of the client's position or anything that they did, it's just the interest rate increases have smashed their borrowing capacity by about $120,000, and the available funds that they had, which was well and truly enough beforehand, sadly falls short now.
Yeah.
And there'll be a withdrawal from that property, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you know what? That breaks our heart just as much. But the bit of solace is that they have done nothing wrong. It's the market conditions of which none of us are in control of, which has allowed that to take place. So, I do like to hold people to account that what you're in charge of, what you're in control of, what's in your lunchbox, you need to be able to own. That whole extreme ownership thing. But absolutely, Dave, I know who you're talking to, and there will be more, unfortunately, that'll drop off over the next few months. That the market conditions have changed, whereby the availability of that, even though that was the right property at the right price, in the right location, at the right time for the right client, no one knew that there was going to be, 9, 10, and bloody 11 interest rate rises between then and now. So it just becomes untenable. Yeah. And sure as shit, the last thing I want to be anywhere near involved in is backing someone into a corner and having them just fall over the line and get their finance approved and then they're in financial stress 6 months later with a young family or single parent with kids or whatever it's going to be. So I don't mind that people have to withdraw from a property based on market conditions. I do mind if people have just been silly and they're just been reckless.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. And like I said, no one could have foreseen 10 interest rates in 10 months, and some of them bigger than 0.25, like the 0.5 ones as well. So it's fairly significant. What else? I am seeing a lot more availability, and I've mentioned this previously, a lot more availability of land now for us to provide to our clients. Some registered, some of those registered ones are from situations which I've just explained, where someone couldn't complete, and that property or that lot has come back to the market. And through our builders and through the developers, we do get access to those. So clients that are ready to go right now, we are now seeing lots of land become available for them as well. Yeah.
Trish, can I just say, we don't just have your back on that, buddy. We have your back on everything. That's why we educate you. That's why we coach you. That's why we provide you the process brief and the risk management stuff before you even go shopping for a property. Like we can't. It's one of the things I'm most proud of with our business and the way that we care about our clients is that we've got their back. Luke, I know you just had a little chuckle then. I think you're always inside my OODA loop, mate, or as my mum would say, my oop-de loop. Mate, we care and we've got everyone's back. Talking about having someone's back, Bradley James has jumped on then, mate. Jesus, I had a fantastic 2 sessions over the last couple of weeks with yourself and Shania. And I'm so proud of you, mate, that you're now in a position where you're going to be able to buy a house for your mum to move into, buddy. So, that's all I'll talk about your circumstances. But from an intent perspective, your mum helped you out, get your first one, and he couldn't wait to sort of repay the favor. So, what a great exercise for, a cracking young bloke that I met probably 3.5 years ago when he was a young instructor up at down at Singleton. And he's now a infantry senior NCO up in Darwin, bloody kicking ass. So I'm really, really proud of you, mate. I really, really am. I saw your mum on the Zoom call, last week, and she was, absolutely stoked that. I think she didn't use these terms, but I got the sense, because my mum says it all the time, that her little boy was doing something so impactful. Like, it was fucking amazing, mate. So well done, and well said, Trish, on your behalf as well. Bradley James, bloody productive sessions, been a great way forward. Absolutely. Please, Luke.
Can I just go back to Benny Hinton's question, mate? I just want to, for a person's borrowing capacity, negates their ability. Yes. I was just going to jump in and say, first and foremost, how long's a piece of string, Benny Hinton? In the first instance, right? It's not a case of just jumping back and finding a cheaper property, right? As you would well and truly know, mate, that, we don't compromise on areas that don't have the 7 ingredients to a healthy property market. But it becomes even more important to have a coach and a mentor and a guide on your side to assess what your capacity is to be able to borrow in a safe and controlled manner, right? We then apply that plan to identify the property that fits your portfolio or the outcome that is required to be able to achieve that in the long term. So if somebody does have to go back on a savings plan because we don't want to put them in a risky situation, then of course that's ultimately what we're going to do, because for us it's about, not just acquiring this property, it's about being able to hold this property in the market over time, not just getting it through the door and then, and then sort of seeing how you roll from there. So I guess, mate, it's how long's a piece of string, and each individual case, that's why we do an individual plan. Like, it's a bespoke business model. Sorry, it's a cookie cutter business model, but it's applied in a very bespoke way because everybody has a different circumstances that is applied to your situation.
Dave, before I answer, mate, have you got any thoughts on that, by the way?
No, just the same as what Luke had said, but there is a possibility there in those locations for potentially cheaper properties, different styles of properties as well. Like we do, I do, and I've got one myself in my own portfolio as a terrace home, so they're always a good option as well. If the price of the purchasing power is a little bit lower than a full house would allow.
One of the things that I love about this circumstance is that, Ben, when we met a few years ago, interest rates were super low and the market was just about to take off. Not that any of us had a crystal ball and could foresee that, but certainly yourself and Beck have been able to ride that wave. And Luke, you and I talk about this all the time about the videos that we produce as far as like general information for our community. It's actually much easier to produce videos now because there's more pain points in the market. Before, everyone was like positively geared from the get-go. The market was going bananas. There's not really too many pain points that people were facing. It was more like people are watching a train fucking fly past and they're like, I just want to get on that train. I don't care how, just fucking get me on that train. And those that did a year ago, as Simo's pointed out now, are the better part of 50 grand plus in a certain location. Again, it was the right property at the right time, at the right location, the right price point for the right client. That's just one of those things. But going forward, mate, I love the opportunity of sort of thinking outside the box. I'm like, if two singlies are unable to buy a property individually, no one wins. If those two singlies are smart enough, like if you've got a best mate and he's in the army or not in the army and you want to join forces and be co-borrowers and go ahead and buy a property together, at least both of you get to benefit. It's almost like buying a property with a family member, buying a property with a sibling. You can buy a property with a mate as well and both be on the contracts and basically own 50%. So both of you owning 50% of something is a lot better than both of you owning 100% of nothing. So I guess that's where, if you're asking me what does Axon do in certain circumstances, and of course think about the human dynamics, Ben, that needs to go into making that occur. You don't just want to go into business with anyone. Not just anyone has ever worn an Axon shirt. Sure, there's a few people that have been voted off the island or are no longer a fit anymore. That's fucking life. We've all got friends that we used to be friends with, and we're not necessarily in their lives anymore. So, par for the course, no dramas. But certainly, if you're going to choose to be doing, there's one thing that'll come between people very, very quickly. All you need to do is add a little splash of it. That's money. Yeah. It's money. It will allow insights into one's character to become apparent very, very quickly. Don't get me wrong, Luke, as you remember from Shaggy Ridge, if you have no sleep and no food in a high stress environment, that'll bring things out as well. Go back
pretty quickly.
Go back and listen to episode 53 or 54 of the podcast. But
especially if it's the coldest winter in Canberra as well.
Yeah, no one's putting you in a stress position and making you carry around a heavy box bloody for days on end when you're buying a property. So I'd sort of digress a little bit, Ben, in the way that I communicate with my humor. But yeah, think outside the box where you possibly can to have 50% of something and 100% of nothing. Luke, your thoughts on that?
I was also going to say I absolutely believe in that too. I've got a couple of mates that did that and they were able to get themselves into the market and leverage off that down the track. They were very, very close. They had it was all above board professional agreements, that they had in place around the structures of the properties and the like. I guess with the acquisition, or if you're shifting targets from a higher to a lower price point, there are properties out there that are available to us. What it depends on for us as your, coaches and strategists to put this in place is it the right property for you at the right time in the right location? I know you just mentioned before, Simo, about having terrace houses, in your portfolio. I think all three of us, in fact, have a terrace house in our portfolio. Why do we have a terrace house? Because it was the right property to acquire at that point in time for us to be able to make sure that we were still giving ourselves options to leverage forward off.
Yep.
So ultimately it comes down to the individual and the circumstances, and you've got us in the background to sort of apply our skills, knowledge, and experience to that.
Yeah. I'd also put forward that a lot of the cheaper properties these days, or lower price point properties, they're in shit locations. They're fucking cheap for a reason. Right. So the one thing you must not compromise on, ladies and gents, I would rather have 100% of nothing and wait to save a little bit more, or wait to see what the interest rates are doing, or wait until you meet a partner or whatever it's going to be, than go and buy 100% of a piece of shit, quite frankly. That's a technical term for a property that's not performing. So, discretion is the better part of valor there, ladies and gents, whereby you don't need to run to your death and go, okay, I just better go and buy something because Robbie told me having something's better than nothing. Sure, but I'm talking about having something, 50% of something decent is better than having 100% of nothing. So just, again, come back and talk to us and we'll put a strategy together for you and sort of argue the toss. But it's one thing I will never, ever compromise on. I've had dozens of clients speak to me over the years about, but we really want to buy in this location and you guys are awesome. Can you please help us out? Like we'll pay the money. It's all good. I don't want your money. I want to help people that I believe that are going to be successful. And sure as shit, if a lot of people were like me when I was younger, The first place I look when something goes wrong is to try and blame and finger someone else. That's finger point, by the way. The last place I look is in the mirror to go, I was an adult and I made that decision and no one else is a fucking responsible except for me. So I'm like, I'm never going to compromise on our business model. It's almost like the other day that I had a young guy that he's like, I've been following you guys for ages. You guys are like everywhere. Like it's bloody awesome, blah, 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 blah. He goes, but I know you guys do the build thing. I really want to use your services, but I'm just letting you know I'm not doing the build. And I'm just we'd argue the toss about the principles and the pros and cons about the fundamentals that go behind why doing a build is a better idea than building a second-hand property. He's like, I used to be a chippy back in the day and I've worked for heaps of dodgy builders and I know what those bastards do on the back channel. They cover shit up, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, sure, mate. I'm sure that's occurred back in the day, but not the fucking builders we use. That doesn't occur. And it just got to a point. I was like, listen, bro, if you don't want to do the build, no dramas, but I'm not your guy. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, but if you go and buy something secondhand, even if it's 2 years old, there's not like a 15-foot tall x-ray machine that can go around and like inspect every cornice of the house, in every crevice of the house and the cornices. And if you buy something that needs to do a knockdown rebuild, you're going to want to drag me on tonight and say, Axon are fucking dodgy. They bloody sold this house to me. I said, it's not happening, mate. I said, you can pay full stamp duty. You can forego all of the fixtures and fittings as far as the depreciation goes. You can walk past half of the builder's warranty and the guarantee that's already happened. You can undertake all that stuff, mate. I'm not your guy. So it's really important that I'm happy to disclose to everyone that we are not here trying to make money off people. We're here to make sure our clients make money for themselves, and we'll never compromise on our business model. Dave, you've been working with me for many, many years now, and has my answer to that question ever changed?
No, always the same. I've actually been absolutely the same myself. Every house that I've ever purchased has been a new build, all the way back from 97, 98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate,
well,
go for it.
Well, when risk mitigation, when identification of risk is our center pillar of what we do as a business, how can we change the approach in that? We can't identify and offset or mitigate those risks if we don't know what they are. So we're not able to vary away from that if we sustain that risk mitigation as a pillar of the business.
Now, here's something interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say, of course, there does come a point in time where the purchase of an existing house is relevant. I'm actually at that point in time in life myself, Kira and I. We've got our investment property portfolio. I've done exactly what we talk about. I'm your bloody perfect avatar here. I've rented all through the army, of course, getting moved around. And even since discharge, I've continued to renting the place that I want to live in, because I can't afford to bloody buy here. But now, after all of that, a bit of consolidation, I'm at the point now where I am looking to buy a house, which is going to be my forever home. It is going to be a second-hand house. Highly unlikely that I'll be able to afford something that I can knock down and rebuild. I would love to do that, but it's probably just a little bit outside of my capacity. But yeah, I will be buying a second-hand house, but I'll probably be looking to do a fairly significant reno anyway, so I'll be able to tear it to pieces and fix anything up that might be minor imperfections.
Yeah. Do you know what we call that, Dave? We call that lifestyle choices.
Yep.
Whereby you can go your hardest, mate. And great point, Dave. I'm glad you insisted on interrupting me then, which is amazing. I spoke to some clients today, and when I did the connection call with him, he's like, "Yep, all good, doing a build down here in Newcastle, Maitland area, ex-Raffy, got out, Class A pension, etc., etc." The first 10 minutes of our phone call today, they're like, but I said, look, if you do a build, even if the land's registered right now, you probably won't be finished till the end of the year. And they're like, the tenant's putting the rent up. We hate living here. I don't want to rent anymore. Robbie, we just want to buy. We just want to buy our own home. And he was sitting there with his partner, and the two blokes it was oozing out of them that they just did not want to have to go through the build, and they really wanted some assistance on getting clarity around buying their own home. I said, here's the thing, fellas. I'm going to sit here and give you all of my experience and all of my background and everything I possibly can to give you clarity around buying your own home. We even went shopping on realestate.com. You know, that they're probably going to be at that $600,000 price point in that Maitland region, which means it's going to be like a 30-year-old house. And I said, fellas, if that's what you want, here's what you need to do. Here's what you've done. Here's a DOHAS lending specialist. Here's the plan. Go ahead and work with them, and that's it. We cut ties with them from there. We're not going to provide services to them. They're not a paying client of ours, but it was my absolute pleasure to be able to give them the clarity. And you should have seen the wave of relief that was over them. We only spent an hour and 20 minutes together, for them, with them, I should say. But yeah, it's absolutely sometimes when one's circumstances change and they wanted to just buy from a lifestyle perspective, not purely wealth creation where you don't want to undertake that risk. Dave well said before about who cares if it's got a couple of bumps and bruises? You're going to live in it forever. Fucking fix them up as you go. Who cares? So yeah, I just want to moderate some of the other things I said before. That's why, Luke, as you said, we've got a very cookie cutter business model, but it is applied in a very bespoke manner. And certainly, I'm talking to a bunch of clients upcoming that have built 2 or 3 houses with us. They're like, hey, now we want to switch gears and buy our own home. Like, can you guys help us do that? I'm like, I'll put the strategy together for you. I'll crunch the timeline and do the cash flow and everything. But if you're to buy an established house, go jump on realestate.com and go to open homes and go to auctions and go buy your house. It'll be what a great outcome that we can provide our clients is to build a portfolio with us over the years, doing it the Axon way. And then we switch targets and provide them support at the end game.
Yeah, exactly.
If they've had their Axons functioning, firing in the right way over that time period, it allows them to switch from their investor mindset to their homeowner mindset, which is when you're investing, ladies and gents, you are buying with your head and your calculator. It is all about the numbers and minimizing risk that allows you to hold those properties. The second thing you switch into gear and you hit that point where you want to buy your dream home, pour your heart into it. Pour your heart and your wallet into it as much as as much as your portfolio and your cash flow allow you to do. But that's that point where you have permission to go ahead and do that once you want to buy in that location that you want to live in. Because who gives a fuck if it goes up in value, right? It's a vanity project when, if it does go up in value, who cares? You're living in it because you want to live in it, because you want to have access to the things that are around it. So go ahead and do that at that point in time. But whilst we've got our investor hats on, please make sure you are thinking with your brain and with your calculator to ensure you get the best outcome that ultimately allows you to do what old Simo over here is able to do now, putting himself and Kira in the house that they want to plant their bums in.
Yeah, 100%. Benny Hinton well said, mate. So exactly what Luke's saying. Buy with your head and your calculator, and then buy your forever home with your heart, mate. Absolutely. Awesome. Dave, were you talking before about some sort of shortening of timeframes as far as land registration stuff goes? Like it's actually really good for Luke and I. We're now not putting together strategies for clients. We've probably got, Luke, you've probably got 15 clients you're talking to, and I've probably got 5, and that's good. I'm like, there you go, bloody keep consolidating your lack of bloody training wheels, because as you know, property coach, only job. Property coach, part-time job for me. I've got all the other stuff I need to be able to do. So I need to create that bandwidth for me anyway. And, Dave, you're the same. You got yourself, Damo and James. You're not the one that's managing the most amount of clients because you need bandwidth to be the leader. You need bandwidth to be the supervision. You provide that supervision and all those other things that we do. I lost my bloody train of thought now. Sorry, fellas.
Time frames.
Yes. So it's so good. Thank you, Dave. So good that we can put together a time frame and a strategy for people. I'm like, hey, by the way, once you're accepted into our long-term coaching program, i.e. a success package, and you do the other mandatory briefs, bang, we can go shopping straight away, and you'll probably have your house built by the end of the year. Yeah. I'm doing a great session with a wonderful couple over in Perth straight after this, and that's exactly them. It's such a great bit of peace of mind. They've been trying over the last couple of years to do it by themselves and gain some traction, and they weren't provided the right amount of support working with another firm. No names, no pack drills, nor have I asked. But at least now we're going to give them a bit of traction because there's land available ready to build straight away, Dave.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. It's one of those things that, once again, a lot of stuff out of our control. And if in the real estate space, property space, it's never constant. There's always change. Back in 2015, 16, when they had the Royal Banking Commission, we had bloody brokers in tears to us because they thought they were never going to write another bloody loan again. Give it 6 months and everything was fine. Now we've got the bloody COVID situation with trades and material shortages. We're sort of starting to come out of that. There will be a lot of hangovers for the builders for another 6 to 12 months, of course. But we're starting to see the other side of that. What's next? Bloody interest rates. Interest rates went up as an outcome of that as well.
It's keep on coming.
Yeah, it just keeps changing. There's always something that keeps us on our toes. And if you actually come across somebody that says, I know everything there is about real estate, there's nothing else to know, bloody run the other way, because there's always something happening. There's always something you learn. And we're learning stuff every single day from our bloody very valuable service partners, like Deb, the mortgage broker, Jace, the accountant, even the conveyancing solicitors, and the guys that do the depreciation schedules as well. There's always changes in there as well. So we're always learning.
Oh, little side note. The gentleman who owns Washington Brown that we refer all of our clients to, Tyrone Hyde, he's coming to the Goldie in another 6 weeks or so. He's going to come in the office. We're going to do a podcast. So he's going to do a little masterclass for us in the office about quantity surveyor, depreciation report, prime cost method, et cetera, et cetera. Nice. So that's going to be a great little masterclass for us to have. And then, Luke, you and I are going to do a podcast with him.
Perfect.
Nice. That's the first time I'm hearing about this, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm looking forward. I've known about it for a few weeks, but I just thought about it then. I thought I should tell you. Like, it's just the three of us. Like, keep it to yourselves, fellas, please. It's just the three of us.
Stuff on the other 20 or 30 people on the call.
Hey, KC, on the back channel there, brother, can we just go back a little bit? Franny put a great little comment in there about are there any recent changes to standard land and build contract terms and conditions? I don't know if this is a loaded question, but full transparency, lads, nothing springs to mind for me. Are you guys like Dave? I know you and Shania are the ones that your team and Shania go through the contracts in literally like a fine tooth comb.
Yep.
I'm Franny, unless Luke, you've got something on the back channel. Yes, it is what Tammy feels on the regular, Ben. Absolutely. Yeah. This is how she finds out about things. Franny, could you mind? You from my perspective, I feel as if you've stumped the gurus here. What are you referring to specifically, please, Sarge? That might be in the contracts, Luke. Unless you've seen something that I'm not tracking.
I'm not tracking anything new, nothing revolutionary that's changed. Some of the conditions around, like some of the unconditional clauses and the like, are sort of amending with the market shifts. But that's that just is what it is, and shifts with the flow.
Yeah, I'm not seeing
a few months ago.
I'm not seeing anything specific. I see a comment there. Just curious compared to a few months ago. The only thing that I can sort of think of, which I kind of would expect to start seeing contracts, land contracts now, is finance clauses. During the boom sort of period where there was so much demand from so many people buying properties, the developers were able to, they were, Robbie's saying, whoever has the gold bloody makes the rules. The developers had the gold. Close enough.
The golden rule. The golden rule, ladies and gents. He who has the gold makes the rules.
Pretty sure that's what
developer. Thanks.
Nailed it. Yeah, so during that period, the developers didn't have to have finance clauses in the contracts because they were in such demand. Because we are starting to see land now that is registered or very close to registration, I would expect to see more finance clauses coming in there. I may not have seen as many as I would have expected, but the developers seemed a little bit slow in changing like that, and I don't think it's because they don't know what's happening. I think it's actually on purpose. But I do expect over the coming months that we will see more and more estates offering finance clauses in there. Shania has put a comment in there: finance clauses coming back, strong arm. That's Shania's double bicep pose there.
Fucking hell, she's got to set it.
Shania, if you can think of anything else, throw it in the chat there as well.
Yeah. Actually, one of the things that I'm seeing as well, if the land is registered though, and especially if it's a put and call block with the builder, so let's break into that in a second and explain what a put and call means to the team as well, that sometimes a land contract will not come with a finance clause because they're like, effectively the builders have got their nuts in a sling. That's another technical term for they have to settle on the block if they can't find a third-party buyer. So it may not come with a finance clause if there's a very short flash to bang time. May not come. You've seen a couple of them come through, Dave. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. Go for it.
I was going to say, mate, just jumping back to one of the discussions that we had late this afternoon around the establishment of goals. So one of the principal things that we ask our clients to sit down and do is work through what it is they want to achieve, and then that ultimately allows us to put the strategies in place, using the property asset class as their vehicle to be able to achieve those goals. And when we talk about that, we don't necessarily, we don't want you to write down, we want 5 fucking houses, because that means nothing. 5 houses to any of us means nothing. You can have 5 shit houses sitting out the back of nowhere, and it doesn't mean anything to anybody. What we want and what we discuss through is what is the effect that you want to achieve out of having financial freedom using the property asset class as your vehicle to be able to achieve that. Now, there have been a couple of trends that I've noted recently, particularly when going through with couples. There's a very distinct reason why when we have that connection call up front, right back at the first time that our clients will reach out to us. If you are in a couple, we will not hang up on you rudely, but we will politely decline the opportunity to sit down and go through your circumstances with you without having your significant other in the room. Okay, because we ultimately know that it's not the guys that make the fucking decisions. It's most of the time, it's the lady of the house that will make decisions. So whilst we're very happy to speak to you, well, I'm not going to go into the nuts and bolts of your scenario without having your significant other in the room. Before you get to that point, it's very, very important, and that's 2 verys, very, very important, that you have your goals aligned. What is it that you want to achieve? And even to the degree of what is the mechanism that you want to be able to use to achieve it. There are a number of ways that people can go out there and they can create wealth. If you are in a relationship and your significant other has a burning desire for you to go down a path that is other than using the property or other than the choice that you've made to go down, you need to nut that out before you start ramming down either one of those paths, because you don't want to get halfway through it and one of you be non-committal to it. It's even more important that when you're establishing your portfolio, whatever that portfolio looks like and whatever that mechanism you use to create that wealth, it's even more important that you focus your efforts on that at the start. Diversification early on in your portfolio will not allow you to achieve those things that you want to achieve. Okay, you need to have that laser-like focus to be able to bring those assets to life. Okay, and it's down the track. The reason that you're doing that is down the track, you have options available to you where you can diversify until your heart's content.
Very true. There's a great Chinese proverb that goes something like, he who chases 2 chickens catches none. Let's think about it. We've got a couple with $80,000 and they're like, we want to put $40,000 into a share portfolio and $40,000 into the property market. Well, you're only going to have $40,000 in the share portfolio. That's it. You're not going to buy a property because you've got to save another $40,000 until you can get in the property market. So it's really important that focus on one thing. First things first is a really good leadership principle. Make a decision on that and then commit to that. Get that under your belt, get it established, make it a self-licking ice cream, and then start diversifying after that. Yeah. Luke, did you how and why was this brought up, mate? Did you have a chat with a client lately?
I did, mate. Yeah, we basically had that discussion where a couple had gone through the planning process in the past and they'd sat down and they'd sort of ummed and ahed and I got a bit of a backfeed. It was the first time I've actually worked with these clients, and they're an amazing couple, very motivated, high achievers in their field, all that kind of stuff, but they just weren't aligned with what they wanted to achieve and what the selected vehicle was for them to be able to achieve it. And with limited resources, like most of us have limited resources, you have to really focus that limited cash that you've got available to you to be able to achieve it. Ultimately, if they get a property in the market, they can focus on getting that, bring it to life, have it running, and then they can pivot, understand their cash flow, because they had quite a healthy cash flow, understand their cash flow, and then pivot their cash flow into a share market. But if they're not aligned at the start, you can almost bet your hat that down the track there's going to be a negotiation required between the couple.
Well, I guess from our point of view, that's why we have people watch. Like, we don't really do a proper connection call until people have watched the videos. I can make a guarantee. I know it's just the 3 of us, so no one else will know this. I know I can make a guarantee whereby people will think and feel differently about their financial future after watching 5 little 20-minute videos that are based on education. That's the statement, right? That's to make sure we're all on the same page. We outline the Axon business model. We outline the way we do things. We focus on brand new land and builds. We've got our 7 ingredients to a healthy property market. We show you some case studies, right? No brainer. That's the same page activity. Then when we're doing the connection call, we also need to be on the same page to go, all right, who are you? What is it you're trying to achieve? Are we the right fit? Can we help you? That's the same page activity. Then, of course, when we do the 2-hour coaching session, that's when we put a plan together to go, right, you two sitting over there, not you two as a couple, when I'm your coach, as long as you guys are on the same page, it's my job to now bring our expertise and bring our experience into your life to make sure you get the very best outcome. Jesus, Luke, I can only imagine how difficult it might have been for you if you're trying to be on the same page as two people that weren't on the same page. Is that the observation I've made correctly?
Absolutely. And the ultimate thing is, like buying a house is a big deal. Like that's why you bring us on your side. It's no small, for most people, particularly right back at the start when they're establishing their portfolio, it is the biggest thing that they've purchased in their entire life. And so getting it right is, it's absolutely essential. So going into it, you absolutely have to make sure you're on the same page to be able to execute against those goals that you both want to achieve. It's very, very difficult to coach people around their options, their available options, if there's a disconnect between the two.
Yeah, 100%. Love that. Benny Hinton says he had to put the brakes on, but my journey before Beck was able to join the call. There you go. It's absolutely the right. Mum, thank you very much for joining us. Great to speak to you over Easter. Glad everything's well back there in country South Australia. Justin Ower says, hey guys, random question. What's your thoughts on Airbnb properties? Dave, if you don't mind, you want to have a crack at that, mate?
Yeah, I've kind of looked at Airbnbs over time, not as an investment option for myself, but I use them all the time.
Yes, you do.
What I have seen is in the past, over the last 5 years or so, they were a bit cheaper than hotels and the like. Over the years, the prices have been going up and up and up that's 3 ups for Airbnbs. And I now find them the same or more than serviced apartments in hotels and things. So I'm sort of switching between staying at Airbnbs and finding myself more and more at hotels instead. So I think like it might have been a bit of a like the popular thing a little while ago, but I think the market may actually be a little bit flooded with available properties available as Airbnb to a certain degree. So for me, and also you have to really nail the location if you're going to do something like that as well, because you can't have a location that is very heavily tourist driven in only a part of the year. Like if it's an area that tourists are only there for 4 or 5 months of the year, you could find yourself with long vacancies. Now, I don't know where these areas are because I've never looked into it in any more detail than that.
Yeah, good point. Dave, do you want to go, Luke, and then I'll finish it off if you guys have anything that I want to include as well.
What is it? What do you want to achieve out of buying that property? Yeah. Okay, so ultimately for me, what is your strategy, targeting? Is it targeting rental yield or is it targeting growth over time? Ultimately for me, when I think about Airbnb, I think about apartments near the beach. I think about, all those touristy type arrangements, those areas where people are holidaying, not necessarily areas that have the 7 ingredients to a healthy property market and are at that targeting that start of that development point whereby you have that sustained growth over time. So ultimately up front, what is it you're trying to achieve out of it? It's rental yield, then, fill your boots if that's what you decide that you need. For me, my targeting strategy and the way I approach things is capital growth over time. The other thing that jumps out to me is there is a risk associated to having a transient house. Okay, if you've got a property that you are buying and people are coming and going, the wear and tear is higher because no one gives a fuck about your property. There is no guaranteed rent on it. It's not like you've got guaranteed tenants and, the 2 forms of income that we have on a property, rent return, tax return, you can't guarantee that you're going to get a return on that property that you would otherwise get if you've got a property with a tenant over the 12-month period. The costs associated and the management requirements over the top of that property are higher, I want to have a quiet portfolio so I can live a noisy life. You've got every time the tenants come and they leave, you've got to have that property clean because it's got to be cleaned to a specific standard, which cuts into your profits from from that perspective. So for me, I like having a stable portfolio so I can sit it in the corner and I can have a couple of people manage that stuff for me and I walk away.
Yeah.
So no go for me. I would do it.
I've got, I think every type of property investing has got its place. Luke, you hit the nail on the head. It just all comes down to what it is you're trying to achieve. So for Brad that I was talking about before, we're going to go and find a dual key or a dual occupancy property because his mum's going to live in one side. They're going to rent the other side out and give them the flexibility that if he comes and gets posted to Southeast Queensland one day, that they can go and live close to mum. So every property and every type and every strategy has got its own play at the right time, at the right place, for the right price, for the right client, etc. So yeah, Justin, I'm not pouring water on your idea at all. In fact, neither of us are. There's just a whole bunch of considerations there that need to be, really well thought through, and it all just comes back to, mate, why, what's the purpose? And if the purpose is purely cash flow, then you don't whinge that you may or may not have the same amount of capital growth. And if the purpose is also to have a nice, quiet portfolio, yeah, you're going to have to pay people a lot of money because every time they come in, they've got to do another stock take in the kitchen. Is all the cutlery there? All the pots and pans there? Like it's a neck level investment of what needs to go in from a time and money sort of perspective. Margie Grunsel said, exactly, Luke, great answer on the Airbnbs. Trish Tillard said, give me a hotel any day. Yeah, I guess I too have stayed in a bunch of Airbnbs over the years because there's not. It's like staying in someone else's house. Sure, you've got more room, but you've got to make your own bed. You've got to do your own dishes. So it's not really a holiday. It's just, you sort of want one of those things. So again, horses for courses. It's absolutely the case. What else, fellas? What else has been going on? Luke, we've got about 6 or 7 minutes to go. I need to leave here right on 19:30 because I've got another session immediately afterwards. So, mate, give us what's probably one other topic that's worthwhile sharing to the community. And I hope everyone's really enjoying tonight's banter. I really enjoyed everyone's connections there in the chat, mate. But what else do you reckon would be worthwhile passing on?
One of the other trends that I've noticed lately is when people are coming to us, for their first connection call and the like, and they go, I want to buy my own property and live in it. I go, well, you're living in Nowra. Why do you want to do that? Well, I get my fucking entitlements. I want to be able to use my entitlements to buy my first property. And I go, are we allowing? Sure, those entitlements are fantastic. They really assist you getting your foot in the door and that initial cash flow and that cash injection to be able to make sure that works for you. But if we let the tail wag the dog, ladies and gentlemen, again, what is it you're trying to achieve out of your property portfolio? If we are chasing that little bit of cash now, we are potentially sacrificing a lot of cash later. There's a lot of people that have come to us, not a lot. There's been a few clients that I've sort of coached at the start. We've done connections and then taken through where they didn't necessarily understand that if you don't use your entitlements on your first investment property, you don't burn them. You just put them up on the shelf and they stay there. And so long as at that point until you purchase your own home that you move into, you're able to continue, you're able to access those entitlements. So that for me, I've seen that probably a couple of times over the last sort of 2 weeks where it sort of jumped out at me. And I thought, we've got a lot of communication out there on this. I just want to make it very, very clear, ladies and gents, that if you don't use your allocation of your entitlements on your first property, an investment property, you can put them on the shelf and use them down the track.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is that education gap through defence and through everyone's units where they don't actually get this information. Definitely jump on the AFCON website and bloody see all our different videos there. Little plug. But I've done it exactly the same way. I was in the army for just short of 21 years. I didn't use any of my defence entitlements on any of the houses that I purchased. They were all pure investment properties. And now that I've discharged, and thankfully they've made some changes to the DOHAS timeframes where it used to be 2 years that you had to use your final certificate. Changed it back in 2017 or 16 or something like that, become 5 years. And now they've changed it to open-ended. So from discharge, for me, that was about 7 years ago. For this next purchase for my own home, I intend on using DOHAS.
So good.
I'm going to be in that house for 25, 30 years. I'm going to use my full entitlement of 20 plus some more service years, maybe like 25 years of DOHAS on that house, and just bring in that free money. Well, not free, I'd have to serve for it, but bring in that entitlement for the longest period possible.
Yeah, bloody oath. It's awesome. Luke, I've been part of some of those conversations, not with you because you take the majority of the inbound leads at the moment, whereby, people are concerned that if they don't, especially if they go and buy a property, an investment property, they're going to miss out on their first time owners grant. Now, caveat, every state has a different law and policy around this. How fucking good would it be if the real estate laws would be the same amongst all the states? They're not. It is a pain in the ass. The rules of the road of buying a property in Victoria, New South Wales, and Queensland, just to nominate the East Coast here, are very, very different. You can have 10 investment properties in your portfolio. If you've never lived in one of those and classified it as your principal or primary place of residence, you can still come to Queensland and come and retire up here and get your $15,000 first time owners grant. So, Trish Tillard, you're exactly right, mate. Chinese whispers. There's misinformation, there's disinformation, and there's rumor and innuendo across the Defence Force, because guess what? We all lived it. I didn't use any of my entitlements when I got out either. But do you think I fucking care about missing out on 11 grand a HPAS and a first time owners grant? No, because I've made 20 times more than that doing other shit. So, Luke, your analogy of the tail not wagging the dog is very relevant, mate. Please, ladies and gents, have your axons firing whereby, I'll finish that statement first. You want to be able to make as much money as you can. So focus on making money, not focusing on the fear of missing out. Oh, but I'm going to buy in Adelaide because I'm going to get my 11 grand HPAS. Who fucking cares about 11 grand when you buy a property that might sit there stagnant? I'm just using Adelaide as an example. It might sit there stagnant. You'll be fucking kicking yourself when you're stuck with a bloody house in Adelaide, which is, hasn't performed as well as what other areas may do, for instance. Yeah. So please focus on making money, not missing out on a couple of bucks here and there.
And if our clients think that, we're sort of on a soapbox here, I can be on a soapbox. And the reason I can be on a soapbox is because I fucking did exactly that. I let that tail wag this dog, and I've got a lemon in my portfolio as a result.
Well, thankfully the market's come back a little bit 15 years later, and it's not as bad anymore. But the opportunity cost, though, Luke, if I can say, that's the pit in your stomach.
Yeah, absolutely. The opportunity cost of first and foremost, not getting help, guidance, support, and coaching and mentoring to be able to make the right decisions and have that information. But the second is being able to sort of leverage off the equity that would have been sitting in a property elsewhere to be able to continue my portfolio and grow it quicker. But the whole point of that, ladies and gents, is I've had that pit in my stomach, so you don't have to. Yeah. Speaking of stomachs, Margie, I don't eat chocolate, mate. Abs don't grow on trees, so I haven't had it.
No, you don't eat any chocolate anymore.
I had my fill of chocolate.
For those that don't know, Luke has been on a bloody transformation this year after doing a bit of a wellness retreat at the start of the year, mate. I'm really, really proud of the way that your head and your heart and your body have responded. You've really got yourself into a fantastic place. You're on fire, mate, and you're bloody looking the goods, mate. So keep it up, mate. I'm really, really proud of you.
Right.
Good stuff.
Well, I've got to be my best. The whole purpose of this is being my best self, to be able to make sure that I can be the best coach that I can be the best husband, be the best father.
Indeed.
So,
it's all bloody third cousin or something saying how bloody awesome you are. Ladies and gents, I tell you what, fellas, that hour went pretty quickly. I don't know about you, but it sort of flew by. So thanks so much for your very insightful comments there. Thanks so much for everyone in the chat for doing your thing. We are due back here again in another 2 weeks' time. So we'll drag someone else on there. It'll be pretty much be you and I, Luke, again, and then we'll go from there. So, ladies and gents, that brings us to another episode of Axon's Live Q&A. See you again soon. Thanks very much.
See you later.
Thanks, Tim.
Have a great night. Thanks, Rog. Thanks, Ben. See you, team. See you Sunday, Benny Hinton.